Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to TBFS2, our weekly podcast on the Burt Family Secret series. I'm Ryan, and this is
Amy. Hello.
And today we're going to discuss quite a little bit about the book. We're going to discuss a few more questions we've been asked over the week and a few little things to do with sport, and just basically wing it from there, see how it goes. Now, the first question, I believe, which has actually been asked for us is...
What favourite locations that have inspired places in the book?
So that's favourite locations that have inspired places in the book. Well, I can pretty much answer this. Probably quite a bit of it was inspired by the Lake District, sort of places like Crummock Water, Ullswater, Buttermere,
Pooley
Bridge. Obviously, that's Ullswater again. There's quite a few places. The Dim Dam in Alanya. That was a beautiful place, and that sort of the river sort of inspired a few things there. There's a few caves that we've been to. We went to quite a few caves in the UK, but we've also been to one in Majorca, which was one called the Drac Caves, which is really worth a visit. Bit out of the way, bit off the beaten track, but really, really good. Other places are sort of obviously Manhattan. My parents, well, one of my parents, lives in Connecticut, so obviously that's kind of where a lot of the book's based, and a lot of that area is sort of where I went walking when I was younger, which is kind of cool. So, Amy, what is your dream place to visit?
My dream place would probably be... I've got so many, but Canada probably. Banff and the mountain area in Canada. I've always been fascinated with it, so I'd love to go there.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why you'd want to go to Canada. I mean, it's got the Rocky Mountains, it's got that train that goes through, the Overnight Express, whatever it's called, and obviously there's Toronto, there's Vancouver. I mean, the whole place is fascinating. I mean, it's just, it's probably actually I believe it's just as big, if not bigger than the United States. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, by all means.
And I want to see the Niagara Falls, but on the Canadian side.
So you want to see the non-touristy side?
Yes.
I think the Canadian side's the non-touristy side.
I believe it is.
I think the New York side's a little bit gimmicky from what I remember, but again, feel free to correct me on that one.
I've always been fascinated with Canada, so what about you?
See, that's a difficult one, because one of the favourite places I ever wanted to visit was probably Manhattan because of the Home Alone series, but I've been there and I'll be honest with you, I kind of found it was a little bit overrated. It was a little bit busy, it was a little bit dirty. So somewhere else I'd like to go off the top of my head. Probably, if I had to choose somewhere, New Zealand, to see where The Lord of the Rings was filmed, because that film fascinated me.
Yeah, it'd be nice there.
So some of the scenery there is breathtaking. The Himalayas, I'd love to go there. Nepal. There's too many places to even think of. But I'd love to go. I would love to go to so many places. Now, in terms of favourite childhood memory, that's another question that we've been asked. So, what is your childhood memory? What is your favourite childhood memory, even?
I would say going on the plane. Well, for the first time that I remember coming over to the UK would be my favourite childhood memory, because at the time it was all new. So, yeah, that would be. It was really exciting. Me and my three brothers on a plane, jumping up and down on the seats. My brothers fell asleep and they were fighting in the aisle, which my dad would remember because my mum went and sat next to someone else like 10 rows down, and left my dad to it. So my two younger brothers would be fighting. And yeah, I guess that's my favourite childhood memory, because it was all new, and then getting off the plane and seeing my granddad for the first time my grandma, for the first time in years. It was great. What about you?
My favourite childhood memory, and I'm not even sure if this is real, to be honest with you, is being stood outside of a lock with my grandma when I was about 8 years old. Was I 7? I have it 7 or 8. It's one or the other. And I remember being stood outside of a lock. We were stopping at a guest house overnight, and we were stood, and I remember nearly walking into a jellyfish and being fascinated at the fact we were inland and we were at this what looks like a freshwater lake, and there was a jellyfish. And then I spoke to my grandma, and then I remember at the time, I don't know where it was, I couldn't tell you, somewhere in Scotland, and then there was a baby killer whale and the mother. So there was a baby calf and the mother of some killer whales that were in the loch, which is very, very rare from what I've read. I don't even know if anyone's ever took pictures of that. So, but that's the memory I've got, and that's one of the best ones I've got. And to be honest, if it's not real, I'm not really bothered because it's still in my head and it's a fond memory. So a question we got asked in relation to the book is, how long did it take you to write the first book?
It took us a good part of probably over 2 years to write the book.
I'd say the first book, did take around 2 years, including planning, obviously doing the editing side of it.
Lack of room to write, so now we've got an office.
Yeah, well, you've just basically given us something away from another question that we've been asked, but that's fine. We'll just go over it. We like going over ourselves. So, what do you like to do when you're not writing?
I like reading and watching TV.
It's a good answer, to be fair.
Once a week.
Yeah, we do treat ourselves once a week to a bit of a TV splurge, so we might watch a few series which we don't really talk about very often, but sort of at the minute we're into obviously Better Call Saul, Supernatural, Young Sheldon, and Manifest, which is that's a good series, but they're the things that we're watching at the minute. Sometimes South Park if the series is out, but it's not. Obviously we've watched them all at the minute, so. Interesting one, which is a question that I never thought we'd get asked, but what does your family think of you writing?
My family, I guess, are okay with it. I mean, my mum's always supported me, like I said in the last podcast, so my brother tries to when he's not busy. What about your family?
I don't really have a comment on that one because they don't really discuss it with me. They've never really asked, to be honest, it's just the way it is. But that's just fine. I'm happy to write, so, and you've got the support there, so that's great.
I mean, my mum and brother always ask me how our writing's going, and they do take a genuine interest.
We get the odd few colleagues, ex-work colleagues, people like that asking us about how the book's going, which is nice, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
Now, another question that we were asked is, what do you think makes a good story? That's a little bit of a generic question, but I'll try and answer it to the best I can, and I guess you will too. So what do you think makes a good story?
A beginning, a middle, and an end, and a plot and a twist, just like R.L. Stine said.
I believe R.L. Stine actually said a beginning, the middle,
and I added my
the twist, and the end. Yeah, or something along those lines. To be honest, what do you think makes a good story? I think a good story is based on the foundations of a very strong character. If you can get the right character in a book and you can get people to follow along with them and with their story, I think you're onto something. That's probably what I would say makes a good story. Great foundations from characters that are instantly recognisable, that are different to others that you've read about.
I mean, if I had to give an example, I'd say Dan Brown's series. He had a good character. Very strong, and he's kind of wrote 5 or 6 books about him, so that would probably be an example of good writing.
Check you name dropping authors: R.L. Stine, Dan Brown. Anyone else you want to throw in?
No.
Feel free. I mean, James Patterson. But basically, Amy does do a lot of reading, and she has quite a few authors that she looks up to a degree, I suppose you could say. Now, this one is a question which I'm surprised really, but does writing energize or exhaust you?
For me, it energizes me. Yeah, I feel alive when I'm writing. What about you?
Yeah, I'm the same. I think it's a chance to get lost in a world that isn't necessarily your own. It's another world that you've created, so you don't see the day-to-day life because you're involved in your book. I think if writing exhausts you, then it might not be the career for you, because I think the day you don't enjoy it, and the day it starts tiring you out, then maybe you need to get into another job because it shouldn't be doing that. Or maybe you're not writing the right thing.
No.
So maybe change genres, change subjects, write non-fiction, do something, but just always be doing something creative. Another question which has actually thrown me off, which obviously it's difficult for me personally, but does your family support your career as a writer?
I think they. I mean, in an ideal world, they do. Yeah, I think they always are. I mean, my family have been pretty good with us and where our writing's concerned. I think they'd like to see me a bit more, but I guess sometimes when you need to achieve your dream or you want to achieve your dreams, you've got to put in the long hours. But I mean, like I've said from the start, my mum supports me. My dad, he supports me. He listened to the first podcast. My brothers do. Well, one in particular, but yeah, I guess they support my career now as a writer more than they did back then when I was a teenager. Yeah, what about your family?
I think I will pass on answering that one because, I mean, they don't really follow. I mean, maybe my auntie, she actually read the book, and
Your uncle.
my sister-in-law's mother, she read the book. Again, we thanked her last week, and my uncle, who sort of has done the artwork for us. But other than that, not really, if I'm being completely honest. But that's okay, because one day they'll look back at this and they'll listen to this and they'll be like, we had the opportunities to support them, and we'll see where that goes. But right now, I think the only people that support me are the only people I need right now, to be honest. Now, what was the best money you ever spent as a writer?
It'd have to be the office. We've just recently rented out. We've done so much work and finished so many things. Before now, we were driving probably an hour to St Anne's, Blackpool every night, just to be able to do a bit of writing in peace and quiet. We'd go to the services and spend £8 a day, or just for parking that. So I think the best investment is the office, on my part. What about you?
To me, the best investment we've ever made is this microphone that I got from Argos, which isn't bad. It's not the best one in the world, but it enables us to do something for now. Sorry, we've just got Amy in stitches because she's really happy that a £29 microphone is the best investment I've ever made. What can I say? I'm a cheap date. So, as a writer, what would you choose as your mascot or spirit animal? This sounds so Americanized, but go on.
You go first with this one.
It's got to be American listener someone who's American who's put this, surely. Mascot or spirit animal? Can I say Rottweiler? Does that count?
If that's what you want it to be.
No, yeah. No, probably a black cat. Yeah.
I was just gonna say it'd have to be.
We can say black cats, can't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah, black cat. Most people think they're unlucky, but we've got
3.
Well, 2.5. But basically 3. Oh, I should have said 4 actually, because one of them's twice the size of the other 2. So
it'd have to be Mimi, Boo Boo, or Lemmy. In honesty, our own cats.
I think they seem to know when we're not feeling right or when we're a little bit upset.
Oh yeah.
They're very perceptive as animals, cats. I think so. Yeah, cat in general.
Mimi sends a love to my brother Aiden as well.
Oh, definitely. She loves nothing more than to get some claw loving. So, how many hours a day do you write? That one is a very difficult question to ask because some days we can write for 12 hours, other days we can write for 6. Tonight, for instance, we've probably done no writing because we've spent time on this podcast, so it varies. Average a week, probably it's easier to answer how many hours a week we write.
I guess because, I mean, when we're working, we tend to get here straight after work and we'll do about 6 hours a night. So and then we'll do all day, 24. So about 60, 70 hours a week.
That math doesn't add up if it's 6 hours a day.
If we do 6 hours a day, 6 5, 166.
Probably
60
60 hours,
Yeah.
average about 60 hours a week in total of editing, social media, and probably a little bit longer by the time we've edited this podcast and sorted out if it actually worked out or not.
I mean, to give you a rough idea, we might, on a good day, we'll get here about 6:45 and we won't leave until 1:30 maybe sometimes in the morning. So, yeah, we do tend to plug in the hours. The hours seem to fly by.
But you get out what you put in life, and I'm a firm believer of that.
Agree.
So another question is, how many books are you going to write in the series?
We are going to write 6 books in the series. We've currently finished the first one and the third one, and the second one's nearly finished.
Yeah, sometimes with authors that's just the way it works out. If you have a plan and you have a beginning, a middle and an end, it might make sense to skip to the third book, whereas the second book is on its way. It's about three quarters complete. It's just I've not been distracted, that's the wrong word. I've been concentrating on other things like the website, social media.
The first one.
I edited the first book before it was sent off for the final draft to be edited, and then the re-edit of the edit, which is still to come, but we'll see how that goes. And so 6 books in this series, because it needs time to progress. We can't just jump in all the ideas in at once. I didn't think it would do it justice to have. Originally it was supposed to be 4, but then we thought, hang on a second, there's not enough time there's not enough time in the series of 4 books to be able to actually so we had to expand it, which is why it's now 6 books. And it's nothing to do with greed, it's just we need to get our story told, and it's over 6 books and it makes sense. It's a nice even number.
To be honest though, the writing, the editing takes longer than the writing side of things, so when we finish like the second and third book, it'll probably take us longer to edit than it did to write them, because that's just the way it is.
Yeah, to a degree I agree with you, Amy, but the thing is with that, we didn't have the office at the time, so everything was sort of squashed up in a car, whereas now you get here and you know what you're doing, you can get in, type, and you're done. And I've figured out a quicker way in terms of editing. What I do now is I tend to print the document out and then edit it on paper and then get you to type it up because you're a faster typer.
Yeah, and that's how we do it.
So, another question which amazes me when you talk about, obviously, the burps, for instance. So they ask, is there only one Reaper family? I don't think we can answer that at this point because I think that would give way too much away. What I will say is the burps are a very, very long line of Reapers, and they go way back to as long as anyone can remember. You know, the family crest is over 1,000 years old, to give you an idea of how long the burps have been around. So what audience did you intend the book to be for?
Probably from anything from 8 all the way up until like 80, 90. I mean, we haven't really put an age range on it as such, but I mean the category, the genre will be young adult, because that's kind of like what it's aimed at. But anyone can read it.
If there happens to be a 5-year-old out there who happens to be very similar to young Sheldon, but a very young Sheldon who likes novels, then feel free to read it and give us some feedback. We'll be more than happy to accept it.
I mean, I was reading when I was 5, so...
Yeah, so was I. I mean, who doesn't like reading, right?
Exactly.
Now, you've just already answered this question to a degree, but what stage of writing did you find the hardest?
In honesty, I found the writing side harder than the editing side. Just because it was like, I guess sometimes it's hard to like work to a plan, or it's hard to like, sometimes you get writer's block, and so I guess the writing side for me was hard, but the editing side was a bit hard too. But
See, no, I actually believe the hardest part is probably the editing side, because you've got, well, you basically got to rip the book apart to a degree. I mean, Stephen King said it once. When you finished a book, you're almost tearing it in half. It's almost like, what did he say? It's almost like killing your baby. It's because you just tear it apart and you remove probably two-thirds of the book in some cases, and then you've got to add to it, and then you remove it, and then there's some debate on if you should edit before or edit after you've wrote your first draft. Some people edit as they go, some people edit in between, and some people edit at the end. With the first book, we sort of wrote it
and then
edited it. The second book, I've tried to edit as I've gone along, but I will still probably need to do a master edit towards the end.
And the third book, I was editing it as I've gone along, but we'll have to do a master edit of that, I'd say.
It's very involved, and people
Yeah.
don't see this side of writing, they just see the finished product and judge it on that. So hopefully, when our book is out at the back end of this year, hopefully around Christmas time, fingers crossed,
Yeah.
because that's a nice time to have a book out. Obviously, we'll be plugging it a lot more from now till then, so we'll see how it goes. And the next question is, what accent do the Black-Eyed Kids have?
I think in my head they have an English accent, but
Let me get this straight. As an Australian, you think that everyone who's sinister and evil has a British accent? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, pretty much every movie that you ever watched.
Well, I'm going to go out and say I resent that. That is diabolical.
So you're telling me it's not?
No, just because an Englishman talks like this does not mean he is sinister.
We can't really answer that question because...
No, I'd say they have
English.
a British accent.
Yeah.
I'd say, but what is a British accent nowadays? You know,
Exactly.
we're what's the word? We're a melting pot of different communities now. So, what would you class as a British accent? I mean, mine's different to someone from Bolton.
Wait, are you all right?
No, I'm more the Wigan side, so someone from Wigan.
But then you
go
might
to the other side of Wigan.
Salford will have a different accent.
Different.
Oldham.
So there's too many dialects. So what accent do they have? Probably the Queen's English, darling.
Yeah.
I'd say that always sounds the most sinister. Not that I'm saying the royal family. Why do we always end up talking about the royal family on this podcast? Not that I'm saying the royal family is sinister. I'm not going there. Please don't bump me off. Why does Father Time wear a clock suit?
Because he's Father Time.
Because he's Father Time and he can wear... Listen, Father Time likes to dress dapper, let's be honest.
Yeah.
He loves his suits. He's such a cool guy. He just likes his suits and he has them tailor-made.
Yeah.
I think they're about 5 foot, maybe just. He's probably 5 foot just, so
he's probably
they're very
mum's
tailor-made. Your mum's not 5 foot. Yeah, she probably is. But yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, Mum.
No, he likes to push the boundaries of fashion, shall we say?
Yeah.
And especially with shoes, because he went into AMF, always means fun, one day and said, "I like them bowling shoes. Let's put a clock on them." No, that's not what he did. And so, who designed the artwork on your Facebook page?
It was Ryan's uncle Kenny. He designed Very Talented Artists. He offered to design the artwork for us, and I believe the front cover of our book will be his art as well.
To be fair, yeah, that is who designed the concept art for our Facebook page and for potentially the future book. So thank you. I really, really do appreciate it. I think you've worked really hard. You've worked wonders on the Reaper concept. And, we look forward to hopefully in the future having you illustrate the rest of the books, as well as maybe potentially design all the other characters, which we can discuss at a later date. So that's your thank you this week. I think I already said thank you to you last week briefly, but I didn't really go into details to why. So, is the Reaper death?
Reaper's not death. He's Reaper. He reaps like dead people and takes them to the happily ever after.
Yeah,
they work for death.
Yeah, I think they're sort of like the lower management of death.
Yeah.
They work on behalf of death, but where is death? No one really knows at this point.
No.
All we know is that the Reapers are out there doing the job of obviously making sure everyone's okay, and getting to the happily ever after, if you will.
Exactly.
See, there's a lot of misconception about who Reapers are. In our book, we're not trying to blur. It does blur the boundaries a little bit, because people are still afraid. There's still this stigma towards who Reapers are. But I believe Reapers are the ones that take you somewhere where you're going to be happy after suffering, or in this case, if you've ended one life, you move to another.
Yeah.
So the question is, a lot of people now are asking, who is Angus, and has he been around as long as the Vale?
Yes, he has been around as long as the Vale, and Angus is the protector for the Burt family, given to them by Death himself.
Yep.
Obviously, eons ago.
Just to explain, Angus is a dog. He's a dog.
Well, yeah, he
is
a dog.
He's a dog. Now,
first and foremost,
the kind of dog depends on the person wearing the veil.
Yeah.
If you look at it, if we go back to the old spirit animal and mascot, then I suppose he's the spirit animal and mascot, and he manifests himself as their favourite dog, because that's just the way it works. Because he's Angus and he's a dog, and that's how it is. That's
what happens, yeah.
Do you have any advice for people who are struggling, people who are coping with things like bullying, other things like that?
I'd probably say, like, when I was a kid, I used to think it was, and it is a big thing, bullying, but I'd probably say, don't worry necessarily, because just because you're getting bullied, it doesn't mean you're going to grow up. Like, you choose your own destiny. Like, don't get into fights with people. Just be yourself. Like, I know bullying's out there at the minute, and with social media as well, which wouldn't be easy. I mean, I didn't have social media in my day. Yeah, I'm old. But these days it is pretty hard, so just don't listen to what people say. I know there's a lot of people putting posts and photos and people being fat shamed, and suicide rate is as high as it's ever been. You just gotta take it as a pinch of salt, as hard as it is, because I know how hard bullying is.
I think if anyone who's actually struggling is, whether it be bullying or whether it be mental illness or whether it be anything at all, reach out to us. We will listen, and we always reply to our messages. So, if there's anything we can do to help, we'll try. And I think in terms of bullying, I think I was bullied quite badly in school. There was this awful girl who used to try and make my life a living hell. And I think at the time I was obsessed with Harry Potter. I mean, at the time, who wasn't? She was probably a closet Harry Potter fan too. But she used to call me Harry Potter freak. And I remember when I was leaving school in year 6, going into high school, and she wrote in the dictionary, that we got given by the school, she wrote, "Good luck, Harry Potter freak." And she was always that horrible person. And I just remember thinking, it's okay, what goes around comes around. Did it come around? I don't really know, because by the time I realised I'd grown up, I didn't really care anymore. I think once you leave school, you realise how trivial it all is. But I think it's different now compared to what it was then, because when you were at home, you could get away from it. Now you can't get away from it. You close your door in your bedroom, and people will have got your phone number, and they'll probably be texting you nasty things, or they'll be on your Facebook and they'll be messaging you nasty things, or Snapchat, or any of the other kids today are probably braver than they've ever been.
Yeah,
because they have so much so much more stresses on them than we had.
Yeah.
Like they don't play out anymore. They stand outside with the phones and they take selfies. And I mean, one of the cab drivers in our book starts going on at one of our characters. Well, our main character actually. He goes mad because he's on his phone in the back and he's not listening to the conversation. And this is a problem. Today we don't put our phones down. Even adults, we don't communicate as much as we should anymore. And I think it's important to remember that, you know, mental health is important. You've got to take time for you. Take time for your family. Take time for the things you enjoy. I mean, if you enjoy being on social media all the time and that's your thing, then cool. But, you know, find something. Go play golf. Play mini golf. Take the mum out. Take the dad out. Do something. Go wild. Go crazy. You know, take your other half on a night out. If you've got kids, take them to Legoland
mini
or something.
Golf.
Yeah, mini golf. It's cheap enough.
Yeah.
So what the obvious question is, because we digressed a little bit there, is cats or dogs?
Well, we've got 3 cats, so I'm going to say cats all the way.
Well, we already name dropped the cats earlier on, so obviously it's cats. But that being said, you know, dogs are beautiful too.
Yeah, I love dogs.
To be honest,
too.
I like any pet, any animal.
Yeah.
And I think, to a degree, one of our characters, Eva, she loves animals. She seems to have some kind of natural affinity towards animals. They seem to like her. It's just one of those things. She just likes them and they like her. Now, obviously, everyone loves animals. I can't name anyone I know that doesn't like them. So the next question, should I say, is who is your idol?
My idol's probably Apple Diap from the Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah, he's a good idol to have. I mean, you've followed his career for quite a while and you sort of know a lot about him. You know a lot about the Philippines. You know, you talk about him very highly, and I think since I've met you, that is probably your main idol.
Yeah.
And to be fair, he's more of an idol in respects of his fitness. He's a very fit guy from what I can see. You know, he's very inspirational. He's in one of the best groups that's ever existed. I mean, they've done extremely well, and you know I can see why he would be one of your idols. My personal idol is probably, I'd say it has to be William Shakespeare for me, because you know, Romeo, where thou art Romeo. That's my sister's dog, by the way. Romeo. Romeo?
Not really?
No, not really. No. It'd probably, my idol is probably, like, it was a certain person from a certain group, but then I found out he was an Everton fan, and it broke my heart. So it's no longer that person. So yeah, thanks for that. No, I'm not gonna name drop. I refuse to.
Tell
I'm
me
not.
your
I'm
idol
not
is.
gonna tell them who my idol is. My idol's changed. My idol's now probably.
Pathetic.
No, actually, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to say my idol is probably someone like Robert De Niro, because his career spanned years and years and years, and yet he still finds ways to sort of impress. I mean, his attitude towards acting is he'll take any role if it suits how he feels. I mean, you look at the film,
Wanted, isn't he?
and you look at Stardust. How he plays his strict captain, and then suddenly he's wearing a dress and prancing around. I think that's really cool, and it takes a very good actor to be able to pull that off. I mean, Robert De Niro, this stereotypical sort of gangster / hard man / a guy I wouldn't mess with even now, and suddenly he's this funny, happy-go-lucky guy. I mean, like him a lot.
Yeah. I can see
But yeah, I won't mention the name of the other person because it really upset me when I found out he was an Everton fan. I mean, that was heartbreaking. But okay, I will name drop him. Okay, Mike Discalra, I'm really disappointed. You know, bearing in mind I met you at the Clubland Live tour in the VIP lounge, and you ran around the room with me at Pure in Manchester in the after party, and you ran around because I was a bit starstruck. If I'd have known you were an Everton fan, I'd take all that back, because that is heartbreaking.
Don't even listen, because I'm an Everton fan and there is nothing wrong with Everton at all.
Heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. By the way, you're still a very talented artist, and I think some of the stuff you're doing as Camel Fat is great, so carry on. But I won't be listening personally.
That's just pathetic.
Yeah, whatever. So the next one is did oh, I don't know if to answer this one because parents might listen, but I'm going to go for it. Okay. Did you sneak a drink as a teenager? A drink of pop? Yeah, I had a drink of pop every now and again. But I don't think, for some reason, I don't think that's what they mean. I think they mean, did you drink alcohol or sneak alcohol as a teenager? I'll let you answer that one first.
Me personally, did I? I didn't really. I had a sneaky taste of alcohol when I went to my best friend at the time. We went to, like, I don't know if it was a cousin's wedding or a birthday, but no, I didn't really drink or start drinking until I was 16. In honesty, I was a good girl.
I didn't start drinking until I was 16. Very good.
That's so not true.
Very good. Well, what do you mean it's not true? Of course I only started drinking when I was 16. You know. Okay, I may or may not have had a little incident with my father's alcohol where his vodka may have been getting weaker and I kept drinking it and topping it with water, thinking he wouldn't realise, and apparently he did. He just never said anything, and I probably would have just blamed my sister anyway. No, I probably, we used to go to the park on, much like Mikey Burt does. I used to sneak to a park on a Friday or Saturday, and I used to partake in the devil's juice. And then I may have got caught once or twice by my parents.
How old was you?
Which time? I mean, which time I got caught?
Well, yeah,
the first time I got caught, it was by my mum, and I came in. I may have had a litre or two of cider, because that was just a thing at the time, and some vodka and some MD 2020. Now, most people won't be old enough to remember that stuff, but MD 2020 was absolute killer. It was like a fortified wine, and it blew your head off.
You still haven't answered how old you were.
Oh, okay. I think I was like 13. And 13, 14, I came home.
Are we minusing 2 years?
No, 13, 14. Okay, so I came home and I opened the door, I fumbled around. You know, as you do, you're trying to be the quietest person you can be, and it's like bang, 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 and then you hit the door knocker by accident with your bag, and you're thinking, oh, bugger. And then, I wasn't going to say bugger, but I'm holding the language because this is PG-13. So then I open the door, fall into the house, and my mum's sort of stood around, and she looks, and she's like, everything okay? And I'm like, yeah. And she walks to the stairs, and I'm trying to sneak up, being ever so quiet. And she's obviously, something's up, because normally it's like an elephant walking through the house. She looks at me, and she's like, have you been drinking? Bear in mind, I smell like a brewery at this point. I turn around, and with my most honest voice, I go, no, I've not. She's like, well, yeah, you have. And then she finally got it out to me that I'd been drinking. And she said, how much have you had to drink? And I said, 1 WKD. And I think she believed me, but not sure. The second time I got caught was pretty much when I fell into my dad's car and told everyone I loved them. It was pretty obvious that something was up, because, you know, I'm just not a loving person. No, this one actually is kind of related, so we'll go with that one. But can you name an awkward moment you have had, or the most embarrassing moment you've had?
Not really. No. I guess Sean, my brother, would probably say we were walking in the shopping centre and there was no lift, and fell downstairs and fell down in front of everyone. But I wouldn't have said that was embarrassing for me. It hurt me.
It's embarrassing in the sense that it hurt you, but that's not like fun. I meant funny. They meant funny, embarrassing. So I'm guessing by the looks of it. Funny, embarrassing for me is probably getting caught with my pants around my ankles, and not for the reason, not for any sinister reason other than I was trying to climb over a fence and my pants got caught, and it ended up being almost derobed. But that's a story for another time. Wasn't at all related to the drinking as a teenager. Honest. I can't believe someone's actually asked this question now. But why did the chicken cross the road? I'm looking for the answer. There doesn't seem to be an answer here.
To get to the other side?
Now, personally, I think, why did the chicken cross the road? The answer to that one is probably so people could be irritated to hell with the oldest joke on the planet. I'm guessing that would be the one. Oh, we have a double question. Somebody else, this has snuck through. There seems to be the same question twice. We've already answered that one, so that one's to do with the artwork. So we don't need to talk when it comes to that. Now, when it gets tough, how do you power through? And I believe that's in relation to writing.
It doesn't. It doesn't really get tough. I suppose if, like, I've got a method. If I find it, if I'm struggling with writing, I might go out and edit a bit to get more creative ideas and to feel inspired. That's how I deal with it personally. Or I might step away from it and read, because I find that helps me. Or, I'll read one of my writing magazines for tips. That's generally how I power through it. What about you?
Me, I might have a little cry and feel sorry for myself for a while, and because I'm just a very emotional person. And then when I've finished doing that, to be honest with you, probably what I'd do is just take a step back from it for a little while, because I think that's the best option. Sometimes you have to be away from your material to realise just how lucky you are to be able to create it. And then when you take a step back to it, maybe sometimes a day later, a month later, it could be a year later in some cases, you realise how lucky you are. You've either really improved as a writer or you've stayed on the same level, and I think that's important. Now, slightly unrelated, obviously, but it's related in the sense that Armin van Buuren said the same thing in one of his interviews once. He said, what do you do in terms of when you're working on creative material? He said, I might take a step away from the studio for a half an hour, a day, 2 days, a month, and then eventually I'll come back to whatever it is I started, and I'll either bin the idea or get on with it. Now the question, this is a difficult question to answer as well, because obviously we'll give too much away. If we can't confirm nor deny anything with these questions, but we'll ask them anyway. So, will Mikey ever talk to his dad again?
Well, we'll go off the first book. I can say in the first book he moves with his uncle and he doesn't have any communication with his father.
Things aren't good there.
So that's all we can say for the moment. Not to say he might not ever talk to his father again, because he might not. But at the minute he's not talking to his father.
Yeah, the relationship there is very strained, and I think the relationship with his family as a whole is very, very strained. And I guess when you're at that point, how do you recover it?
Here's a question for you. What is Polici?
Question for me personally, what is Polici? Polici is a magical concoction that the ancients created for all magical creatures. So, because basically what was happening in Magica, there was a lot of death that was happening, and creatures were dying prematurely and they couldn't work out why. So they created a drink which is basically almost an essence of life, and it helps people, so it helps the creatures, to obviously stay energized. So look at it as a magical energy drink. That's the easiest way to describe it. A very tasty magical energy drink.
It sometimes gets them drunk.
Yeah, if it's included with alcohol, but again, not everyone partakes in the devil's juice, so that's fine. So the question we got asked: if you could pick anyone currently to play Mikey Burt in a film, who would it be and why?
I think for me it'd be Asa Butterfield. I don't know if he's been in films he's in Sex Education at the minute. He was in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. He played the main Jacob in that. He's been in several other films, and I could just see him as Mikey. He's one of my favourite young actors, and I think he's got a big future.
Well, he's already a big star in his own right, and to be fair, I can actually see him playing that part, that's because he's obviously a very versatile and talented guy. So yeah, I'd probably second that one in that case. Now, a question that, believe it or not, we do get asked quite a lot is, as a couple, do you find it weird working together? I'll let you answer that one for safety reasons.
In honesty, we first met at McDonald's. We worked together there, obviously.
She just name dropped a company.
Yeah, and no, in all seriousness, we actually met in McDonald's when we were working together, and it was pretty good there. And then I went on to a train station, and obviously Ryan worked with me, and it just seems to work between us. I don't think it's weird at all.
Yeah, it's almost like I try and escape her, and then she draws me back in again somewhere.
Exactly.
No, it works. It really works. And to be honest, I couldn't imagine it any other way.
I just can't. Yeah, I can't imagine not working with you, to be honest. I love it.
I cannot believe somebody's actually asked this question, but can you do any accents?
That's your department.
That's
Well, I
my
can
department.
Obviously, I can do an accent. I'm talking an accent now.
Well, speaking of talking in an accent, if anyone has ever seen the film Finding Nemo or Finding Dory, there's a part in one of the films where there's a seagull, an Australian seagull. Anyway, it sort of says something along the lines of mine. Anyway, so she tried to do a really over-exaggerated version of an Australian accent, and I sort of sat looking at her. I was sort of with my eyebrows raised. I was like, why are you forcing an Australian accent? You are Australian. She went, oh yeah. So can I do any accents? That would depend on how happy I'm feeling. I suppose in a way I've spent quite a bit of my life trying to do accents. Then this is my really terrible impression of a Scotsman, but it's not that bad if you think about it. My name's Alex Salmon, but you can call me Fishman. Do I know how to do a Russian accent? Hello baby, hello everybody, how are you? Welcome to Russian FM. And I could probably do a few more, but I'll save them for another day because they're very entertaining.
Here's another question for you. Did you play any sports as a child?
No, I was too fat.
No, well that's a lie, because I know you played sports as a child.
No, I had flat feet and I ran like a duck.
But you did play sports as a kid.
Yeah, later on when I didn't have flat feet and ran like a duck anymore.
So what did you play?
Foosball.
And what position?
Initially it was anywhere that got in the way of the ball, and then later on they figured out that when they shoved me in the net, I was a reasonably good goalkeeper. Yeah, so
nice.
What about you?
As a kid I played softball. Well, I obviously my parents, we played a lot of sports. I mean, my parents put me in a lot of sports, from hockey to football to basketball to golf to... it's an endless list, and I think I settled in the end on softball, and I loved it. I was really good at it. I think I was softball captain of my local school I went to, and my local softball team outside school.
So you could say you were really good with balls.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Hold on, that came out wrong. I meant like in terms of sports with balls.
Yeah.
Yeah, sports with balls. I've got to clarify that. Sports with balls, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I was pretty good at softball.
The question, which I actually wrote this one, I'll be honest. Do you think Liverpool are going to win the league?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Well, every part of me...
Yes, ladies and gentlemen.
Every part of me wants to say no, but obviously you're going to win it depending on how Man City do tomorrow, I think. You're going to win it at Goodison. The irony. But, in all seriousness, the answer to that question is yes. I think Liverpool, it's not a matter of are they, it's a matter of when. And in all honesty, a team who pretty much goes a whole year and doesn't lose a game deserve to win it, especially Henderson.
Lost one.
Well, yeah, you lost one, but it happens.
That's just in the interest of honesty for the listeners. And I think that I'm still not going to say it. You're
going to win the league, and Henderson, in all honesty, is a very good captain, and the reason you lost is probably because he wasn't playing.
Now, didn't you also a couple of weeks ago say to me your favourite song is Never Walk Alone?
No, I never said that.
She did. She
I
did.
never
She
said that
definitely.
at all.
I promise you, she
I would
definitely did.
never say
She
that.
was singing it from the top of her voice, and she said
No
she
way.
couldn't wait. I was actually really gutted because she said she couldn't wait to give us a guard of honour at Goodison. That was heartbreaking when we found out we couldn't. She was more upset than I was.
I'll tell you what is heartbreaking. My brother, Aidan, follows Liverpool. My partner follows Liverpool. My best mate followed Liverpool. Just my father-in-law follows Liverpool. I'm surrounded by... There's a girl at work who follows Liverpool. I think I'm surrounded by Liverpool fans.
That's just the way it is, baby. That's the way it is. Who do you think is going to win the Champions League? And don't say Liverpool. Liverpool.
I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be between probably Liverpool. I do think Liverpool have got a very good record, unfortunately, in the Champions League, or Man City. I think it'll be one of them, maybe.
You just name drop Man City into a Champions League final. Not going to happen.
I think maybe is Juventus, maybe.
We'll see where it goes.
I don't know. I think it'd probably be Liverpool. If they play their cards right, they can win the league and the Champions League.
Yeah, I suppose they
And
can.
we'll never hear the end of it, so
Yeah,
there you
no,
go.
you won't. And that concludes the section of today's sport. The next question we're going to ask is... No, I'm going to never talk like that again. What's your favourite car and why?
Mine's a Shelby GT 500 2021. It's like a green colour. It's a beautiful car. And I just can't wait to go to Germany and just see what speed it can actually go.
What, on the Autobahn? You'd actually
Yeah,
try
exactly. Oh, yeah.
You'd
With a
have to-
car like that, I would, definitely.
See, there you go with balls again. Serious balls, serious cojones to drive that.
What's your favourite car?
Currently, it's the Alfa Romeo Giulia. I love that vehicle. I love it. There's just something about it. It has something that I've never really seen in a vehicle before, and I can't describe it. But I suppose they always say, and well, Jeremy Clarkson actually says this. He says, if you're a real petrol head, then you have to own an Alfa at some point in your life. And I believe Alfa stands for... I can't remember what Alfa stands for. That one escapes me, but there's some acronym that jokes about it always breaking down. Fiat's the same. I think it's found in a ditch. No, that's...
I know Ford's found on road dead.
Found on road dead is Ford, yeah. Which I don't agree with, because Fords are really reliable.
Yeah.
Now the next question is in relation to water, swimming pool or the sea?
I'd have to go with sea, in honesty. I love swimming in the sea.
I see what you did there.
What about you?
Yeah, mine's probably the sea. I mean, I've got this thing in the minute when we're travelling, I have to at least dip a toe in like any ocean that we go by. So the Atlantic, the Mediterranean.
And when he says that, he means when like we're in Portugal and it's like probably 14 degrees, he still has to jump in this pool and see, because that's just the way he is.
Yeah, I'm a water baby. If I see water and it's calling my name, it's got to be done. I mean, I jumped in a glacial lake in Sweden. I've jumped in a cold pool in Tunisia, and I actually managed to get you in by the end of the week, surprisingly. And your incredibly religious brother. Yeah.
So how many siblings have you got?
Me personally, I've got one
Brother or sister?
sister.
Okay.
Well, we know how many you've got.
Well, I've got 3 brothers, they're all younger. Yeah. I mean, I always thought growing up I really wanted a sister, and for a long time I wanted a sister so much.
Sorry, mine's not for sale.
And I guess when the point I thought, oh, I'm so lucky having 3 brothers, was when I took my mum back to Australia, and my 3 brothers were obviously fighting over the other room, and I thought, this is great, I'm the only girl, I get my own room. And after
Selfish.
And after that, it's, no, seriously, I love my brothers. I do love all 3 of them. One of them I don't talk to as much as I'd like to, but I mean, you know, the Aiden, obviously, you guys have heard about. I love him. I don't tell him as much as I should, but he's always been there to support me.
No, but he's very religious, so I'm sure he knows.
And Sean, my brother Sean, he's great as well.
Don't think he's as religious.
I don't think Sean's stepped foot inside a church in years. No disrespect to anyone.
I could have swore I saw him outside with a Bible one day, but who am I to question things? And that concludes Family Affairs, episode 2. No. Next question is, can you do or make any irritating noises other than my voice that I'm currently using now? Probably quite a few.
Well, obviously I suffer Tourette syndrome, so I do tend to make noises that I can't necessarily help. So I would say I do make a lot. I do make a lot of irritating noises, like I grind my teeth, and it's something I've always struggled with, but I get by.
Would you say that people who suffer Tourette's, they all have that in common? They all have something that they can't really control. Is that a common theme amongst it, like the noises, or like in terms of things that? Is it mainly movement, or does everyone get the noises?
See, I guess when people hear Tourette syndrome, they automatically think of the swearing side, but the reality is only probably 10% of the Tourette's world, have the swearing, the coprophilia. Generally, it's things like people make sounds, or it's very much OCD based, I think. So you might click your fingers a certain amount of times. It's everyone has different parts of Tourette's, okay, but it's generally based on the same thing, and you normally have it with ADHD or Asperger's or whatever, really. I mean, mine's Tourette's and ADHD and OCD based, so I'm lucky in that respect.
Okay, well, at least we've learned a little bit about Tourette's and obviously the daily struggles that you face with it. I mean, I think the question was more geared towards irritating noises, which not necessarily noises that you're proud of, or not noises that you can help, the noises that you can sort of make, and you shouldn't, like the that kind of noises, not the unfortunate noises that you have.
Scraping on the
old chalk on a blackboard. Can you say blackboard now? I'm going to say chalk on a blackboard. That's just the way I was raised.
Yeah.
Fork on a plate. Oof, fork on a plate. It's like a squeaky orchestra.
Proper goes through you.
Out of tune piano. Ooh, my days. Now, and then the last question we're going to end on just before this ends is, and one that I've just thought of off the top of my head. What is worse in public, a fart or a burp?
I think, well, they're both bad.
Well, let's say you're on a bus, right?
Yeah.
You're driving along, minding your own business, and someone cocks the leg up and drops the back. I mean, they're like, are you going to be more offended with that, or are you going to be more offended if they go like a beast?
I'd be more offended with the burping, in honesty.
So, I'm more offended with the bottom burp, but each to their own.
Let's face it, they're both bad.
Yeah,
they both smell.
They're both terrible.
Yeah.
And you should always have etiquette when it comes to public transport. Right now, that concludes this podcast because it's going to be pretty much an hour long. So,
peace out.
Peace out until next week, and we'll catch you then. Take care.
Bye.